He's attracted to women, right?
Yes, yes, he is. Uh, hey everybody, this is Jason with another episode of the Entertaining Stupid podcast, bringing you another segment of a series I'm calling with my buddy, and today with me is my buddy Christian. How you doing, Christian?
Hey guys. Good, good, good.
Yeah, so this week, this topic that I want to go over with you, Christian, is sort of the importance of self confidence. Ever since you've sort of arrived onto the podcast here, I find that a lot of the times me and you are talking a whole lot about our dating lives, and I think self confidence is a very important factor in that aspect. You know, how we approach women or and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I just want to get your take on that.
On self-confidence in general.
Yeah, because like,
Yeah, it's one of those interesting things. I mean, you never want to come off as weak in a sense.
mhm.
Um, it's especially when approaching women, which honestly I don't do a heck of a lot of, because it's honestly the most terrifying thing in the world. Uh, I won't do it unless it's the easiest thing in the world. Like if it's a situation where it's set up perfectly, right?
Yeah,
Um, but the way that I work on any kind of confidence, honestly, the gym is where I feel the most confident.
okay,
Um, just walking with your shoulders back, actually, I think does a lot. I don't know if there's any kind of like brain chemistry behind it, but putting, because I feel like confidence is based off of experience. The more you do something, the more you get confident.
mm-hmm.
And it's chaotic in a sense, and just trying to kind of master that chaos or trying to manage it at least.
Okay,
Um, yeah, I know some people who are able just to approach women like nothing because I guess they just don't fear rejection as much, or they hide it really well. But yeah, that's just kind of what I think about that.
okay, and
It's
you know, self confidence is important, and we've been talking about trying to approach women. How do you build up that level of confidence to ask a girl out?
I'll find an opening. Like I can't do cold. I can't do like cold calls
Yeah,
whenever you just phone someone out of the blue, or in terms of talking to somebody.
yeah,
I
like
feel
you're
like it has to be I can't do it unsolicited.
okay. So
You know what
like
I mean?
you,
Like I
you're
can't.
never going out to a girl in the middle of the street and say, "Hey, I think you're pretty. You want to go grab coffee sometime?"
No, heck no. Most actually, I think a lot of women will be turned off by that. I think it was. Do you know Matthew Hussey?
No.
If you look him up, he's a dating coach.
Okay,
He started off coaching men, but now his primary target is women. He teaches women about dating,
interesting.
and he has this really interesting video. He's in a seminar with a whole crowd of single women. Right? I'm assuming they're mostly single.
Mm-hmm.
And he has this chart that says pretty much if the guy who comes up to you on the street and you don't know who he is and he just talks to you, that's usually the loudest guy in the room, and that's usually the creepiest guy.
Oh, okay.
And that's usually the guys you don't want. He says men, if they could just approach women like nothing, they wouldn't have jobs. If it was super, yeah, if it was super, that's all they do all day. They go, oh, I like that, and they would go and approach. But no, he said something like 90 something, like 98% or 99% of men will not approach you. No, he said there's 99% of men that uh, that will be careful about approaching, and then there's half of that segment that will try to make it as easy on themselves as possible, and then there's other percentage, the rest of them, who will never approach a woman in their life.
Okay.
So every time that he says, um, that the women complain about guys being too creepy, or and then the converse of that, saying that, oh, how come a guy doesn't have the balls to approach me?
Okay.
It's, well, because usually the guy who's going to approach you is the creepiest guy and the loudest guy in the room, and the guy you don't want.
Yeah, and those are just like people that just straight up walk up. Now, will you ever walk up to a girl, say like at a bar or something like that, just to chat them up?
No, not unless I have a good opening or even like a reason. Okay, I guess a better example would be, so say you're standing in line. This is for me. This is what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
This is a situation where I would actually talk to someone I don't know. If I'm standing, say, in a line or a long line, and there's a cute girl either in front of me or behind me, uh, and something, say, weird happens, like other person in line does something weird, or just something weird happens in that vicinity,
Mm-hmm.
where that's like a talking point, where you can just like kind of look at them, they look at you, and you kind of just like say something about that situation.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, say, you're standing in line at Tim Hortons or something like that, and the one guy at the till is being an asshole to the cashier behind the counter or something like that, and then the girl in front of you turns around, like, gives you get a load of this guy, and then you make a remark.
Yeah, pretty much, or the opposite, or that's kind of like, I guess that's kind of a bad example, but unless there's something external to talk about,
Mm-hmm.
uh, yeah, even like art shows and stuff. If you go to an art show and a girl's staring at a painting and you go and stand beside her and you just say something about it, I know it's kind of like what would happen in a movie, but it actually kind of does work because you're both there for the same reason.
Okay.
So why not talk about it? So that's what I mean by finding an easier way to do it. Because if rejection was super easy, it wouldn't be rejection,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? And so to protect yourself, you pick and choose your battles, right?
Yeah.
So for example, if I'm at the gym and I see a girl that's super cute, and usually when you go to the gym, you see the same amount of people every time.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I'll do is I'll try to establish some kind of eye contact, and if they give it back, then great, then I'll work on that, and then I'll eventually maybe say something to them or whatnot. But if they just give you the cold eyes, then that's a no-go.
Okay. Now,
Because I know some people who just will go to the gym and approach every girl,
ugh.
and usually you're met with some kind of disdain or some kind of creepiness. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's still to me personally, it's a bit weird to try and chat up a person at the gym.
You think so?
Yeah, yeah, and
Okay, how so?
I don't know. Like, to me, like, you're at the gym, you're there focusing on yourself, and maybe
Very
it's
true.
because I see a lot of gyms have sort of like a women's only section, right?
Yeah,
Right. So like I kind of view that as, girls come to the gym and they want to work out, they want to focus on them and whatnot. Maybe it's just anecdotal for me at least. But a lot of the
yeah,
time, I go to the gym, I'm working out. Everybody's so focused on themselves. They're focused on making sure that their technique is right. They're getting their reps in and everything like that. And I don't see a lot of, I guess, conversation going on unless it's a bunch of dudes lifting together or something like that.
okay, yeah, that's fair. I guess in my head, what I was thinking of is when you're walking to the water fountain and someone is walking
Okay.
past
Yeah.
you who just like that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Not
Not
like
not not on the floor.
no, that's no, not staring them down while they're doing squats or something, right?
Okay. Yeah. No.
Like I
That's
think I told that story in the podcast where that girl just started talking to me while I was doing my reps, and
yeah.
then she pretty much made it easy for me to ask her out, and then she bailed. And then did I tell you that I saw her at my birthday when we all went bowling?
Okay.
She was in the lane next to us, and she had like a family with her,
Oh.
and I was like, oh my goodness. I'm like, okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well.
But yeah,
Let's move on from there. Because we did sort of touch on rejection. How well do you handle rejection? Does that hurt your sort of self image there, or like how do you try and rebound from it?
yeah, I'll be vulnerable here, and I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I don't take it well, but I don't take it bad enough to the point where it gets, dangerous or anything. Um,
I
because
mean,
there are some guys who get vengeful.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so it takes a lot out of me. And usually I express that through some kind of art. Um, the last time I got hurt, I put it into paintings.
Oh, cool.
I didn't actually like paint anything. I did it on the computer,
Mm-hmm.
some artwork that kind of combined what I was feeling with combine what I was feeling with uh, quote not quotes I guess, but I read a lot of Jordan Peterson, and that's one of my heroes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I read a lot of his book and a lot of his books, and just the topics he has or the points that he drives across. I'll like use that as inspiration. Um,
Okay.
I listen to a lot of music to help me through it, I guess. Um, but yeah, it does take a lot out of me because I start to question myself, um, and what I could have done. But even though I can tell myself a million times that it was never about me,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's not something that I take well. But I do end up picking myself back up, and I do allow myself to feel what I have to feel.
Okay.
I guess okay. I guess I meant rejection in the sense that you're seeing somebody, and then you get that. Not like you ask a girl out, and then I get sad and go home and make a bunch of paintings and cry a bit. That's not what I meant. But
Yeah.
like, if you get just rejected, like
I mean, you turn to
right
the
then and there,
internet.
it's like, yeah, okay, maybe not that one time, uh, but what am I trying to get across here?
There's certain like levels to it all. Like if you get rejected when you ask out a girl, it's not going to be the same as if you've been in a relationship
Nah, it's a
for three
sting. It's a
months.
sting. It's like,
Yeah.
ooh, that hurt my ego a little bit,
Yeah.
but I'll be okay. Opposed to a girl you've, you know, uh, let in, and then it goes awry, and then you feel that that's the rejection that I think of.
Okay, okay. Now,
You
like,
know,
I know
uh,
with some people, the after they've been in a sort of longer term relationship, right, and they break
mhm,
up, it's very, I guess, cliche, like in rom coms and stuff like that. Like, oh, the best way to get over a person is to hook up with a bunch of randoms or something like that, or get yourself out there, and try again or something like that. Now
mhm.
after being in a long-term relationship, that's got to hurt your level of self-confidence, right? Like you feel a bit down about yourself. Do you think it's right or to try and push yourself immediately back into that situation of dating again?
Yeah. So I think betrayal is one of the worst things you could ever. It's up there with loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
With one of the things that because humans are very social, and trust in you. Once you trust someone and then it's taken advantage of, yeah, that betrayal really hurts. So I guess it depends on the degree of the relationship. So say if you've been in a relationship for 3 years and it just ends, I would say it's probably not the best idea to go and start hooking up because you're hurt, right?
Yeah.
And it's not going to help. And I know it's also cliche to say you have to work on yourself, but it's cliche for a reason. Um, if you're hanging out with a girl for like a month and it's going good, and then all of a sudden it ends, then there's nothing wrong with like getting back on the horse, on to the next one kind of thing. Because in the end, you don't owe them anything, and they didn't owe you anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't owe each other anything, and so there's nothing to you can feel what you have to feel, but I mean, don't let that stop you from meeting other people.
Okay. Oh.
Yes, yeah, because hurt people do hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
Hurt people. So it's a good idea to get yourself. That's what I never understood. I see all these people on Facebook who will be in a relationship for a while, and then you check back a month later, and they're in a relationship with a different person,
Do you
and
think it's do you
it's
think it's just,
sad.
yeah, like are they just afraid of being alone?
Yeah, some people are like that. Some people just cannot be alone, and I have to admit I was one of those people because I had my first relationship was quite a few years, and then after we broke up, it was like less than a month later before I got together with someone else.
Hmm.
And then after that ended, it just um, I just like couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I had to really focus on other stuff. Like I still dated and whatnot, but I never actually committed to anybody.
Okay. Now,
just
is
because, yeah.
when you say you're sort of working on yourself, I guess you're again building up your self-confidence to put yourself out there. Is there are there sort of like things that you go straight to that help build up your self-confidence?
Yeah, I listen to uh, the people who inspire me.
Hmm.
So Jordan Peterson, I listen to his lectures. I listen to Alan Watts, and I have a couple of his books, and that Coach Corey Wayne book and his lectures kind of help a lot. So I really rely on other people
Okay.
to help me through that, to almost to help me look at the situation objectively,
Okay.
because emotion doesn't allow that. It's the hardest thing in the world in any situation to look at yourself objectively,
Yeah. Yeah. Do you?
because obviously you're biased towards yourself.
Yeah. Like sometimes you know people go to their friends to try and get that information. I feel that's very again subjective because they are your friends. They're gonna talk you up no matter what. And sometimes
Yeah. Oh yeah.
you are the reason that relationship didn't work out or something like that. Do you feel like in certain cases it's good to go to your friends, in certain cases it's not to?
I think it's good to go to your friends for that immediate comfort, but I wouldn't rely on it because you'll get sick of it pretty soon
Okay.
if you just rely on them to make you feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but of course, like you said, your friends are just going to tell you what you want to hear. You know, if a girl breaks up with you and they're like, "Oh yeah, like screw her, she was totally in the wrong," when you could have been in the wrong.
Yeah.
You know, so I think, but the thing is, I don't think you'd have to be pretty narcissistic and pretty pathological to think that you had nothing to do with it.
Hmm.
And I think it's in human nature to be self-critical, overly critical, because that's the way I don't know, that's the way I am. I'm way more critical of myself than anybody else.
Okay. Now,
So
after
yeah,
after these relationships fail, do you ever like look back a little bit and say, "Hey, here are the things that I possibly did wrong and could work on"?
I think going forward, yeah, it's been 5 years since my last long-term relationship, and I only really started self-reflecting only a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago I started.
Hmm.
So back then, it was just me being angry, and I didn't really look at myself and what I did.
Okay.
It was just I was just so focused and so angry and so naive that I was just focused on what they did to me, and it's not a good way to go because it's kind of poisonous, and there's faults on both sides. But I mean, what's done is done,
Yeah.
and only you can push yourself forward
Yeah.
by hopefully the most healthiest means, in terms of going to the gym, being with your friends, maybe reading books on self-help that will boost your confidence, because it's the best. It's actually very satisfactory, because I don't know if you ever read any of these kind of books, but it's very satisfactory to read a book that makes you reflect and says, this is what happened, and this is why it happened, and this is what you can do better next time.
Yeah. And I haven't read any sort of books that way, but I do. Um, One of the things I like doing is I talk to as many people as possible. I'm very open about my own personal life with people and acquaintances and stuff like that. And it's always interesting to see what kind of responses you get from anybody that's willing to listen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just remember talking about my breakups and my relationships with a bunch of random strangers that I met in the bar one night or something like that, and just to hear what they thought of.
It's usually easiest to tell a stranger than tell someone close.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, like there's stuff I have never told my parents and never will tell my parents, just because I feel like they don't need to hear that, no matter how much they'd ever want to sit and listen. Like I'll tell complete strangers before I tell them.
Okay.
It's a no, it's a weird thing, right?
Yeah, yeah. And now,
Because maybe it's fear of judgment,
possibly,
perhaps.
yeah. And I think that's probably why, the bar is, I guess, one of my more favorite places to go. There's it's I guess an area of less judgment. I feel, and that's
Well,
sort
what
of
kind of bars are you talking?
I'm mostly pubs, honestly. I don't really go
Yeah,
to
yeah.
a whole lot of like clubs or something like that, and
Isn't that
especially.
gonna be great? It's gonna be great when we can go back to the pubs.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
It's one of the things I miss the most.
it's definitely one of the things that I miss the most. Yesterday I recorded with Rael, and he actually came over because he was like, I don't care. I need to see somebody. And we recorded for almost an hour, and then it was still sunny and bright outside, so we went out on my deck and had beers back there for another hour and a half, and we're like, yeah, no,
Nice.
we really miss the bar.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
wait. So you just talk to random people at the bar? You go to the bar by yourself? I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just curious.
Sometimes, well, I mean, sometimes I whenever I'm feeling sort of not into myself, when I kind of need to work on my self confidence, or if I'm feeling down or something like that, I will go out to the bars, just to have a couple of pints or something, and usually I'll always send out text messages to people, just like, hey, I'm going to go grab out drinks. Do you want to come? And I
Which
would.
one do you go to usually?
My go tos are O'Shea's and Winston's.
Okay.
Yeah, so if someone wants to join me, sure, cool. I will go and go to the bar with them and have a drink and talk. Sometimes nobody wants
Yeah.
to go. I'm still gonna go and do it just because it makes me feel a little bit better about myself, and it helps me sort of reflect, like as I'm sitting at the bar, reflect on myself and try and build up my self confidence again. And the barkeep will chat you up. The strangers next to you will just have conversations, and you just sort of lean into it and just see where the nights
Yeah, that
go.
helps you. That
Yeah,
helps with your self-confidence.
yeah, yeah.
That's good.
So
That's
on that,
that's really
yeah,
good.
on that note, do you think the environment that you're in affects your self confidence? Like, if you're at a bar, are you more likely to approach a girl as opposed to a coffee shop or something like that, or out in a public setting?
So you're thinking of time and place, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, everything has a time and place. Environment is actually very interesting because the first thing I thought about was just like the actual outside environment.
Mhm.
Just because me growing up, I have atopic issues. So that's like your eczema, your hay fever, your asthma,
Mhm.
all that stuff, and that stuff has always affected my confidence as a kid. Especially when other kids call it out.
Yeah.
That was always really hard for me. I didn't grow very tall because of these issues. I didn't sleep properly till I was 8 years old,
Oh.
so that really had an effect on my growth. And also my self confidence. And when I'm in Saskatoon, my skin and my body is not it's not well. My skin dries out. My nose is always having issues. My lungs are always having issues, and that all that stuff combined really has an effect on your confidence. So that's actually the first thing that came to mind.
Okay.
Um, and like anybody, I get to these really dark places where if I get rejected by a girl for like the one we talked about remember the last time we talked about this?
Yeah, the dog.
Yeah, yeah. So I almost felt like I went to a place in my head where I felt like, man, am I being genetically selected out? That's
Yeah.
actually how I felt. I was like, I'm being rejected for these issues that I can't control. Am I being like genetically selected out of the population? And then I had to tell myself and be like, no, okay, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that
You know,
is.
there's a million worse things out there. So that really affects my confidence.
Okay.
But with regards to your question, I would say that approaching a girl at a coffee shop is way less threatening than in a nightclub because alcohol, I think, makes all the difference. Um, well, I think when a girl goes to a bar, she's on guard.
Mhm.
I think she's very protective of her and her friends, and they'll really kind of stick to groups. I would actually be very wary of a girl who's very receptive to other guys talking to her. I'd
Yeah.
actually be kind of wary of that.
Yeah,
I
I
feel like
mean,
if a girl makes it too easy for you, I think it's okay to be easy in the first 5 seconds as a woman. Like be easy in the first 5 seconds. But if she's easy the entire time, I'd be wary of that.
yeah, I mean, a buddy of ours got married, and at the reception there was this one girl that was really, really heavy on me, and I thought this is a bit strange, especially at at a venue or at a thing like a wedding. It seems kind
What?
of
A wedding, all the girls get because
Desperate?
they like, oh man, I want it. No, not desperate. They just the women are very emotional in a good way. I don't want
Okay.
anybody listening to this think that I'm just like a misogynistic dick because I'm not.
Okay.
Um, but no, women get they use their emotions and they see a bride and they probably imagine that they want to hope that's them one day.
All
So yeah,
right.
that's understandable.
Okay.
So
Uh,
anyway, this girl's coming on to you.
I mean, yeah, it was just a bit much for me, and yeah,
Was she drunk?
yeah, she was very, very out of it, and
Oh,
it's
okay. That's a good thing you didn't do anything though.
yeah, yeah. I wanna ask you, like, being at sort of a club or a bar environment where there is alcohol, alcohol does play into self confidence. It's kind of sometimes overinflates your own self confidence. Do you ever find yourself in times where you feel like way too overconfident, or like you see your buddy and he's like, you know, out and about, like above his regular levels?
Um, oh, you're talking about just other people? If I
Yeah, like
see,
other people or even
yeah.
yourself. Like, do you find yourself sometimes like there's just like maybe a brief moment of sobriety while you're out drinking. There's like, hey, I'm being a bit narcissistic or overconfident and stuff.
So I'll tell you the truth. I haven't done that in a very long time. Like Maddie B and I used to go out
Yeah,
every
I
weekend.
feel yeah, it's a very sort of like when we're in university kind of thing, and as we get older, it tends not to happen. But have you ever had those
I like to
moments?
believe I'm pretty respectful. Yeah, I'm pretty respectful no matter the mind state. Um, Even then, like I'm not the kind of guy that's just gonna walk straight up to a girl even if I'm hammered. I've seen people who are like that, and I have friends who are like that, who their confidence just like goes through the roof. But obviously, it's a false
False
confidence,
confidence.
and they think it's okay, but maybe they're coming on too heavy, and the girl gets creeped out or something. But for myself, yeah, I never had those. I've never had those issues. I've always been try to be as most respectful as possible, um, because that's how I associate myself with,
Hmm.
and I don't want to create some kind of cognitive dissonance where this is who I think I am opposed to how I actually act.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I've always wanted to work on for myself, even to build up self confidence, is being consistent in who I am.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think being consistent is important. But yeah, to answer your question, I've never really gotten super drunk and like approached a bunch of girls and got numbers and stuff like that. Yeah, that's never really happened.
Okay. Now, when you do say ask out a girl, and you do get the number, it's probably a big boost to your self confidence. You're like, hey, I actually achieved something there. But like the moments after where you're trying to chat her up and you don't really get a response, is that sort of like a real kick in the
Oh yeah, they just
nuts?
give your number. Yeah, they just give your number. Well, I think also they give their number
Get you to go
just to get
away.
rid of you. Yeah, I think also part of what I do when I try to read and learn, understand not just dating relationships, but relationships in general, it really helps in identifying those situations, right? So if I'm talking to a girl, I can tell right away if she's actually into it or not, right? So
Yeah.
I'll before I ask for the number, I'll make that decision, be like, all right, if I ask for a number, she may or may not give it to me. When she does give it to me, she's just gonna ignore me when I text her,
Hmm.
kind of thing. So I've gotten pretty good, but honestly, a lot of my dating stuff comes from that online stuff.
Yeah. I guess
So
you're on like Bumble and stuff like that. And
yeah,
do those skills that you have to determine whether or not a girl is interested or not, do they translate over to just from in person to text based?
yeah, yeah, they do. I think I like to ask lots of questions because obviously I'm trying to know someone,
Mm-hmm.
but you can tell if they actually like you by if they are actually genuinely interested in you, if they're asking you questions. Um,
Okay, as opposed to like
I mean,
one sided conversations.
oh yeah, like I was even talking to this one girl and she liked me and stuff, but she didn't ask me a single thing about my life at all.
Oh.
And even though like I said I like to ask a lot of questions and get to know them, but when someone doesn't even have a, you know, a clue as to what
You
you're all
are, yeah.
about, then that's a kind of a big turn off to me, and it's a good indication that they're not that into you, and also how vulnerable they're willing to be with you.
Okay.
Especially it's weird in this whole COVID time, right? Because everyone has the time.
Everyone has the time. It's
Everyone has the
all
time.
yeah. It's all on those dating apps. Because I mean, you're not gonna go out to the bar or something to meet somebody.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I've had a couple car dates,
Yeah, yeah.
like where you
You
yeah, you
spoke
just
about it
pull
last
up and
time.
you stay in the cars and you're 6, 7 feet apart and you just talk.
That's still very strange to me, but I guess it's
It
the
is.
evolving times, I guess.
Yeah, it's really strange. Like yesterday, I went on a walk with this girl that I have been talking to for a bit,
Mm-hmm.
and we stayed 7 feet apart the entire time.
Wow.
And
Wow.
yeah, it's very interesting, but it's actually almost we were talking about it because it's like it's almost a good thing that you're getting to know each other. Uh, what am I looking for? What's the word I'm looking for here? In depth before you even touch each other, kind of thing.
Okay. You're doing the
You know,
research
there's
before.
no yeah. Well, also because there's all that. I think people also get physical way too quick, and I've been guilty of that too. I'm not going to pretend like I'm not because that's your impulse, right?
Yeah.
And but when you actually can't or shouldn't, it takes a little bit of the pressure off, and you get to really see what they're about, and you it's actually way more easy to be objective about it.
Okay. Cool. I'm learning a whole lot. I should really be writing this stuff down. Um.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well.
like it's still possible to do at Bumble dates. Like it's just you just got to be
A
smart
little.
about it,
Yeah. Creative with it too.
and it's cheaper. Not
Oh.
like that matters, but
Yeah. Well. I mean, when people are out of work, then cheap dates is probably what everybody wants.
yeah, yeah. So
All right. Now moving on, you and I have talked about trying to do stand up for the last
yeah,
little while here, and I think it takes a lot of confidence to decide to throw yourself into an entirely new thing. Like, how did you decide that getting on stage and trying to tell jokes is something that you want to do, and did you have to build up a level of confidence to make that step?
well, I haven't actually got up on stage yet. Like you and I, well, you got up on stage once. You said in Seattle,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, but I think that time will tell. Like once that happens, then I can answer that question because I've written bits and I haven't really looked at my bits in a while.
Hmm.
Um, but it's gonna be those put up or shut up moments.
Yeah, because I think
So
you've mentioned
it's
a couple of times, it's like
yeah,
stand-up comedy is something you can't be fully prepared for. Either you do well or you bomb, and that's just the
yeah,
fact.
yeah, yeah. And I want to be good at storytelling. I want to work on that. And I guess it's I guess COVID-19 is kind of the perfect stall
Yeah.
for it. But yeah, it's just one of those things. I think it just would be kind of fun. I think you get a bit of a ego boost from making strangers laugh with your, especially if you tell the stories of your own unfortunate events. But
Yeah. And I mean, like
uh,
we do the kind of
so it's
stuff
a way of
with.
release, I guess. The way you look at it, it's kind of a way of therapy.
Yeah, I mean, we do this kind of stuff on the podcast here where we tell, the stories about our lives and stuff like that. And I think it's a bit different when, you're surrounded by friends and family that laugh as opposed to being in a room full of strangers and them laughing
Yeah,
along with you.
yeah, because then you're being relatable and you're doing the job right.
Yeah.
If that
Uh,
makes sense. Yeah.
Now, like, do you feel like when that moment comes where you kind of have to make that decision about whether or not you want to get up on stage, like, is there sort of like, you'll have like a set level of confidence that you sort of need to build yourself up to before you take that step forward?
You know how we talked about alcohol earlier?
Yeah.
I'll probably have like 2 drinks before I do that. But even the show that we went to
Hmm.
at that improv, it wasn't great. Like there were some really good people who were obviously have been doing it for a while, but there were some people who just weren't that funny and they were getting up there regardless. So if I can at least tell one funny story up there, then I'm happy.
Okay.
So
Yeah, and do you feel like sometimes there's what I like to imagine sometimes because like I feel confident in myself in certain aspects, and then sometimes when push comes to shove, there's like an invisible boundary, I guess, that I have in my mind or something. Like I'll act super confident up until that point, but then anything beyond that, I just sort of shy away from. Uh,
okay.
yeah, yeah. Do you think like is there personally? Do you think like there's something that I could do to try and make easing that step over that boundary easier? Yeah.
It's because stepping over that boundary means you're descending into chaos, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually the hardest part because, like I said earlier, I listened to a lot of Jordan Peterson, and he talks a lot about hero myths and how they were used to convey a certain message. And I'm really oversimplifying what he was saying, but pretty much that the hero has to face the dragon, which is coveting the gold, and that dragon is the representation of chaos, your own personal chaos or your own demon. And once you conquer that, the gold is on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So usually, but to fight a dragon or your biggest dragon is the scariest thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's just trying to make that leap and to want it enough and to realize if it's worth it or not. So if it's worth it or not to you to make that leap, then you'll do it. But if it's not, then you won't.
Okay.
It's almost as simple as that.
All right. All right.
So I don't actually have any advice to take that leap because I don't think I've really taken that kind of leap. I've taken small leaps like that, but I really haven't taken a giant leap like that where I can sit here and tell you how to do it. Because even one of my dragons, I think, is even like we said, like approaching women. That's because that's the hardest thing to do for me.
Yeah.
I'd rather public speak and give a lecture to 300 people than do that.
I'm in the same boat. Like, I know you and I, especially on the podcast, we talk frequently about our dating lives and everything there. I feel like I'm a bit overconfident in my sort of aspect of approaching women and trying to
Okay.
ask them out, but like I don't know, in my mind there's like I predetermine whether or not it's going to be easy or not. Like there's some girls that it's just like super easy to go, uh hey, you want to go out sometime or something like that, and then there are other women that where I don't know, it just becomes incredibly difficult for me to build up that courage to go ask the girls out for coffee or a dinner or something like that. I don't know, maybe it's category one is something like the girls that I've already made up in my mind where the relationships I view that they're not going to go anywhere, and maybe that's easier for me to just go, hey, want to go out or something like that, whereas opposed to group two, maybe I'm imagining that something can actually be of worth there, and I hesitate a bit more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're overthinking thinking it a little bit. You're
Oh.
getting too because I guess the whole point from how I see it of dating, and this is something I even struggle with, is to just have fun and to realize that whoever comes in and out of your life are meant to, and then you can learn something from each person. And and that's not me sitting here saying that I'm okay when I get dumped or something because it's doesn't feel good,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something you have to live with because it's like I'm a guy who knows I know what I want, but I still have to try to live with the mentality that people just let people come and go.
Yeah.
There's no point trying to force things. And with that said, asking someone out with that preconceived notion that this is going to turn into a full blown relationship puts a lot of pressure on yourself because then you're not managing expectations.
Okay.
I think that's a big thing is managing expectations. You have to be indifferent more or less, right? Like for example, yesterday I went on this walk with this girl, and we've talked quite a few times, and had one car date, and we ended up talking for 4.5 hours,
Wow.
and then she would text me here and there, and then we went for that walk yesterday, and I was out skateboarding, and it was like an hour and a half before we're supposed to meet. So I said, hey, hey, good morning or good afternoon, like, you still good to meet up, kind of thing. And she didn't text me back for like an hour to like, just to make sure she's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And in that hour, I had told myself, I was like, if she doesn't text me back, whatever. I don't care.
Okay.
That's almost the mentality, instead of freaking out and being like, oh my God, like, what am I gonna do if she doesn't? It's like, whatever. If she doesn't text me back, fuck it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
honestly how I live with it. That's how usually it's just like, whatever.
All right. Now let me ask you this. Say you're able to communicate with this person, and they decide not to respond in certain means, like just personally. Like there's this girl that I know we text every so often, but I find that she responds
Okay.
less with text messages as opposed to say if I just chatted her up on Snapchat or Instagram or something like that. How do you
Oh, you
what's
mean she responds more on Snapchat than she does through text?
yeah.
I think that's pretty common. Not gonna lie. I think
Oh,
that's really common.
okay.
Really common. So if you really want to get a hold of her, I would just get a hold of her on Snapchat. It's a really shitty thing because the philosophy I like to follow
Mhm.
is that you usually just set dates over the phone, like you don't really talk.
Yeah.
I guess online dating's a little different because you got to build rapport.
Mhm.
So build enough rapport, set a date, and then wait till the date to talk and hang out, and then just keep doing that until she starts reaching out to you. But I guess since these are weird times, and as long as you're not like pestering the fuck out of her,
Oh
which I
yeah,
don't
no,
think
I'm not.
you
It's not.
are.
It's not like a messenger every day or something like that. No, that's
Okay, yeah, get a hold of her on Snapchat then. If she's responding more to that, then do that.
okay. Okay, cool, cool. Now that's basically all that I wanted to talk to you about. I want to just sort of open up the end here for do you have any advice for anyone who's just starting to get into dating to build up that level of confidence to start talking to girls and stuff like that?
Are you talking about someone who is already gonna go on a date with a girl, or someone who's trying to?
Someone who's trying to. You know what? I'm gonna throw him under the bus here. Our buddy Ray. He doesn't have a whole lot of experience. Asking girls out or going out dates. What
Okay.
would be some advice maybe that you would give to him as he's trying to gain experience in this aspect of his life?
I would say honestly, the baby step is, if assuming that he's got his shit together
Mm-hmm.
and he feels like he's in a place where he's ready to do something like that and to meet someone. I would honestly just start with the online dating thing and create a profile that's appealing but also reflective of who he is. Like I'm talking, not taking a selfie with shitty lighting and while his hair is a mess or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or he looks like shit. I'm talking about creating an actual profile. Like that's the easiest way to get into it, especially, I mean, that's all you can do right now. Um, I mean, I think maybe getting out more. Like that's like, because if you want to meet women in person, the best thing to do is to just kind of get out there, which
Yeah.
is obviously something I'm trying to still figure out too, because my entire life I've just done stuff that's solo, like skateboarding is completely solo and male dominated, so I'm not going to meet anybody there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think a step for him is to just create a really good profile and work on himself. And he has, because this is the way I look. I look at myself and go, am I someone that a girl? If I was a girl, would I date me?
Oh, okay.
Am I
Yeah.
am I someone that is ready to be in a relationship and uh, and capable to be in a relationship?
Mm.
So I mean that's the best advice I can give is just for him to maybe read up on it a little bit, read up on attraction, read up on kind of how women think, and then but you also learn a lot about yourself in that process. So if I had to like, it's gonna sound really ignorant but and narcissistic, but if I had to like coach him, I would get him reading books specifically on that stuff, and then once he built up his confidence like that,
Mm-hmm.
because the more you know, the more confident you feel, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because everyone's searching for a little bit of control. I mean, having full control is impossible and idiotic, but having when you feel like you have a little bit of control over what you do, then then it gives you the confidence moving forward. So yeah, I'll get him to read books, and then after he gets that kind of confidence, create a dating profile, and just see what kind of matches he gets. And then based on what he learned from the books, that's how he can communicate with these women. And then he can set dates, go on these dates. He'll fail a little, maybe he'll succeed a little bit, but you learn every single time you go out, and you learn more about yourself and what you want. And then those are the two key things to dating: is knowing yourself and knowing what you want, so you can kind of screen through the candidates, if you will.
All right, cool. I think that's great advice.
Yeah, well, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, that's gonna be the end of it all here. I want to thank you, Christian, for joining me and answering all these questions that I have.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. I didn't get to ask you any questions.
I mean, that's
Really
yeah. I mean, I sort of structured these interviews where I'm sort of interviewing you guys, but I don't know. Maybe we'll do one with you guys interviewing me or something. But sure. I thank you for joining me here. I want to thank the listeners for listening in to this. We still have Matthew, Dan, and Sil to get through. So I hope everybody really enjoys these segments.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to these. These are gonna be good.
Yeah. So we'll catch you next time, and stay safe out there, guys. All right,
Yeah,
bye.
stay safe. Thanks, Jason.